Okay, hello everybody. It's week 5 in CT Rando, aka Rando Dalton Imperial. We got another seed coming at you. Learning to speak as we speak. Same settings as week 4. We've had some bug fixes, a couple changes to like the internal logic. So it probably will feel a little bit different. Last week we of course ran into some issues. Still completed the seed, but it kind of limited like the way it could have played out. So we've got Carnoth phone and pseudo settings, dungeon shuffle. So any dungeon entrance will be shuffled among any other dungeon entrance. Chrono house shuffle. He's got a house in each time period. We don't know which one he spawns in. They're all close to gates. They're all close to checks. So you never have like a fully linear start. 2 starters, just because entrance rando can get a little bit hairy with the recruits. Aussie Fort and Bridge are checks. We may just keep it this way going forward. Kind of seems silly to have boss locations that don't give key items. Masamune Forge gives ultimate weapons, 1 of 7, 1 for each character. Vanilla tabs are in their normal spots. Shuffled rocks are in their rock spots but shuffled. Ultimate gear in vanilla ultimate gear spots. So your moonstone charges, your rainbow shards, rainbow shells, whatever. Aussie Fort, the end of Genodome, that kind of thing. It's all got high level equipment in it. Pool's a little bit bigger than you would think it would be, so you might find some surprises there. Non-check dungeons, so like Magus's Castle, Tyranno Lair, Ocean Palace, things like that. Has got some gear as well. Hunting Range New has a good piece of equipment if you kill him. The Yakra chest does not contain a character, but it will give you an item. And then 2245 objectives. For those that have familiarized yourself with the randomizer, that should be self-explanatory, but 2 objectives will unlock your last village gate, give you access to the Blackbird at Commons. We've also set it to where 2 objectives will allow you to complete the Black Omen if you choose to go that way. 4 objectives for Bucket. 5 objectives for the time gauge on the time machine. So, if you get the Bucket and you get end of time access, you can fight Lavos that way. He is, of course, vanilla power, so do with that information what you will. So we're gonna do a little 2-minute warning here. We got Carnoth, number 1 streamer for sure. Plays a lot of seeds, does a lot of wacky stuff. Definitely draws some people in. You may have seen him do the FF1 randomizer marathon 6 months ago. We were gonna do the more recent one. We just didn't have the time to submit. Had a lot of stuff going on. Phone, of course, complete doofus. Does a lot of silly things, but plays a lot, so we keep him around. Pseudo-Arc, of course, developer, MVP, good player. Anyway, we can kind of watch these opening cutscenes to glean some information. We saw that Ice Sword was 8 MP spin cut, 15 MP ice, which is pretty good. Got about a minute before we kick off, so let's go ahead and look at some objectives. We got our handy tracker in the middle here. Sunken Desert, you got to get, you got to open the desert by talking to the plant lady. You need Luca, you need Robo. You got to turn it in at Fiona's Shrine. Go through the whole forest sequence. Chrono Trial, possibly a free check if there's a character there. Death Peak, need Clone and C Trigger. You got to find Death Peak as well. Potential very strong character there. Level 37, 8 techs. 3 bosses, but they're all the same. You can run from the second one, just like in vanilla. Omen Giga, of course, Black Omen. Mount Woe, self-explanatory. Just gotta find it. Epoch boss. If we do the Blackbird, we can do that. Or, if we get the Jets of Time, we can skip straight to the boss. Specchio, end of time, hard boss. Charge Moonstone. Just gotta get the Moonstone, Flight, and Luca. So we'll kick it off. starting with Magus and Marl. Kind of an interesting dynamic. Polar opposite characters mostly. Both mages, though. Magus, of course, is royalty, as is Marl. Just different kinds. So we'll start in the bed, a little bit scandalous. Not even their bed, it's Chrono's, but we'll look past that. So we're gonna see some opening checks, opening routing. We're gonna see, what our techs are. We see Ice 2, Dark Matter, Ice 2, so heavy Ice 2 dominance this seed for sure. We'll see if we can build some stuff around that. So we see a Guardia Castle immediately at the Cathedral. Phone buys some heals, some shelters, sells off some gear he maybe doesn't need. So immediately we can do an objective here. Pseudo peeks the Guardia Castle. We see a Chrono Trial. Frog is there, so we can recruit him. Chrono Trial is one of those checks where, you really want to get in there as soon as possible because it's a 2-man dungeon. The boss there could be potentially very scary. You don't want to fight a level 50 boss with only 2 characters. It's not a great idea. Looks like Phone is taking the castle bait as well. Karnoth heads up to Truce Canyon. Picks up a black vest, which is pretty nice. Karnoth heads into this gate. We don't know where it's going to take him. So it actually ended up at the fair, which is vanilla. It doesn't have to do that. Gate shuffle is on. I may not have noted it at the beginning. We see a Luca, so if we have a gate key, we can recruit her. If you're ever not sure, just talk to the character, they will tell you. Drops a Dreamstone, so if we see Dactyl Nest, that's a potential really good recruit. Gives us some logical access to the whole overworld of 65 million, if we can turn that in for the Dactyl. So I believe Pseudo was probably using the entrance tracker we made. That's why you'll see him pause once in a while, looking at different things on the overworld. He's taking some notes. It's definitely a helpful thing, especially if you're forgetful. On Karnoth's screen, we see a gate key for sale at the fair. So if we wanted to get Luca super early, we could make some money and buy that. Pseudo opting for the prison phone as well. So they're going to get their first objectives online. I don't know if we saw what the boss was. You can peek it by talking to the guards at the left tower. Karnoth not only has Dreamstone, he's found his way to 65 million. So while we do have gate shuffle, entrance shuffle for Chrono's house, dungeon shuffle, the rest of the overworld is vanilla, so it's a little bit friendlier of a flag set. A little easier to keep track of. Phone opting for the execution scene. It is a little bit faster than looting the entire dungeon. It may not seem like it, as long as this cutscene plays out, but there's no enemies to fight whatsoever. So you can also, pick up the mid tonics, get the last couple of chests pretty easily. In addition, you also get your second character before the boss, so if you have any dual techs, potentially, you could get those set up early, which could be a big benefit on a boss, depending on what it is. Karnoth going for the hunting range. He's going to see if he can kill that new. The answer, of course, is yes. The new here cannot kill you. It has, it's unscaled. It's got 1,234 health, 1, 2, 3, 4. It drops your HP to 1, but it cannot actually do the 1 damage to kill you. So if you have good damage, it's pretty free. It's a good way to get some early levels techs. And of course with these settings, get a good piece of equipment. We'll see what that is. Phone freeze Fritz. Of course the main thing with that is you'll get the new shop. It has a different selection than the original one. And also he'll give you the 10 mid ethers if you have Chrono recruited. So eagle-eyed viewers will notice we've got some enemy shuffle going on, not just bosses, but the enemies as well. Interesting quirk with that is some enemies only have a front-facing animation, like these scouts, so you never know where they're actually looking. On some enemies, like with their idle animations, you can kind of see, like, you know, their frames reset when they turn, so you can kind of gamble on it. You know, it's like a small chance, 1 in 3, that they're looking at you at any given moment, but you know, it happens sometimes. So Phone kind of demonstrating, he got in here a little bit later, but just because he did the cutscene, skipped like the first 4 chests, he is a little bit ahead here. Karnoth gets through his new. He gets Nova armor, which is really good. You know, any high level armor is good. Any full status protection is amazing. Having it on one piece is incredible. Just for the simple fact that you can, you know, devote your accessory slot to something better. Gold studs, stuff that gives you damage. In this case, we got a flea vest on Karnoth, which magic defense is incredible in this game. It's probably the most broken stat. They say speed is king, but if you have high magic defense, you are probably not going to die. Speaking of, Karnoth checks the rock. He gets a white rock and 12 magic defense on it. So he's going to be laughing at Son of Sun for sure. He's got 2 characters that already have really good magic defense. So we get a Retinite at the prison here. You hate to see it, but we do have kind of a soft lock protection in place for this randomizer. Not that we need it, we have water, but if the boss is below level 30 for like Nizbel 2, Retinite, any element will work for their defense reduction. So, you know, don't get discouraged. The rando will protect you. Additionally, you can kind of brute force the bosses without the elements if you want. It might suck doing it that way, but it is possible. Phone gets through it, gets his first objective on the board. So while we were looking at that, Karnoth found his way to Trandome, interestingly. It is part of the house shuffle, so that's why that was there. We could have potentially started there in the future. We see a Sun Palace at the Reptite Lair. Looks like Karnoth might be taking notes as well. That's why he'd be pausing right now. So not going to go for it immediately. Karnoth likes to kind of map out the overworld a little bit before committing to something. Whereas some other players maybe, you know, they just see something and go for it and kind of improvise from there. Equally valid strategies. Just for the simple fact that you never know like what key items and what bosses are going to be at any given location. You know, if you're exploring the map, you may see a bunch of stuff that you actually can't do. Like you'll know where it is, but not like where the item to actually do it is. You know, so there's a little bit of risk to, you know, either strategy. Karnoth found the Guardia Castle. Pseudo-Arc puts his first objective on the board. As a reminder, we need 2 to go through the commons. We need 4 for bucket, 5 for the time gauge. We can skip the need for the Blackbird to get the flight if we have the Jets of Time, or you know, we can skip the objective requirement if we go through Ocean Palace, for example. That also in the vanilla game opens up Last Village. And that's what the game considers to be logical access, so that should always be available to you if there's no Jets of Time item to be found. We see a Tyranno layer at the 600 AD bridge. We need Ayla to actually go through that, so we'll see if we can't find her. I think I saw her on a screen somewhere. possibly... Where did I see her? I'm not sure. Maybe at the back of the 600 castle is probably what it was. So if we see Cathedral, we know we can do Tyranno Lair. Pseudo staying at this this inn here. In the vanilla game, if you have Marl in the party and you stay here, you get a power meal. We've turned that into a chest, so he got a mist robe here for doing that. Which is pretty cool. Phone is at a shop selling some stuff. I may have seen something he wants. We got a Dino Blade for Frog. It's got 5 MP crit. What that does is if you auto attack and you have 5 MP, it'll consume it and automatically crit. So you love to see that with like a really strong weapon. Dino Blade is essentially Frog's second best weapon. It's a DS item. It's not quite on the level of like the upgraded Masamune, but it is quite nice. So yes, Ayla is at the back of Cathedral. That is something we can check if we go to the castle before the Cathedral. We'll see, if there is a character there, that's what you will get for that dungeon. Phone opens up the desert entrance, sets up the magic tab for that new scratch point there. Karnoth is doing the regular prison break. Phone finds Denador Mountains. Pseudo's kind of following in Phone's footsteps a little bit, just a couple minutes behind. We saw a Luca Tech level in that chest for Phone. And you'll notice the music has gotten a little bit weird. We've changed over to Phone's screen. We do have an MSU patch that we can apply to this, so we can put our own custom music in. There was recently a video posted with some interesting rearrangements of the soundtrack, shall we say. Very, very psychedelic, and Phone just wanted to try it out, see how it turned out. It was okay. Got a little old after a minute, but we'll try not to linger on it too long. So Pseudo also finding a shop, possibly going for the Dino Blade as well, if he's at the same shop. So one thing with this randomizer is, you'll find like a lot of cool stuff in the chest just because there's no tiers or weighting applied. Anything can be anywhere. Same thing with shops, really. High level equipment may be slightly more uncommon in shops, but it is there. So A, B, C, always be chopping. You'll always find something worth buying. We can sell tabs, they are expensive. And the reason it's that way is because you can buy tabs and they're even more expensive. So coming from like Jets of Time, tabs are maybe worth a little bit less. They don't give like, 2, 3, 4 stats, but with the tech damage rando and all the combinations associated with that, you can find like some really good stuff that scales really well. So it's like a similar level of impact. If you don't want to use them, just sell them, get some equipment instead. Either strategy works. Speaking of tabs and strategies, Phone has discovered that these purple guys are dropping speed tabs. In these settings, we do have 25% random drops, so 1 in 4 enemies you encounter will drop anything, any item from the loot pool. So it can be good to just take some random fights once in a while, just on the off chance that it does drop something. Like this, for example. Speed tabs, you love to see it. We do have these settings currently set up to where you can get like most of the levels you need just doing bosses. And that's why you'll see somebody get like, 4 or 5 levels per character killing a boss. It's tuned to be pretty breezy if you can meet the power requirements to get through it. Next week, we've got it rolled right now. It's up. open to anybody that wants to play. We have the boss experience turned down just a little bit, and the regular enemy experience is turned up. So you're probably going to be incentivized to do a little bit more fighting. So, you know, you may find speed tabs dropping or prism helms dropping if you're lucky. Definitely good to try it out, you know, see what happens. Additionally, we've got some new stuff. We got a normalization setting for bosses. There's certain bosses that we feel may have been undertuned just with the way they are. A lot of the early game bosses, you know, you can increase their stats, but just because, you know, you're supposed to fight them with like a bronze mail, they may not be that threatening. So we've kind of normalized a few of those, made their scripts a little scarier, tweaked some, you know, HP and damage values slightly. Generally, you know, we want the HP to not be super high so the fights don't take forever, but, you know, while the fights go on, we want them to be more threatening. So we're going to try that. We've also got a new flag for tech normalization. So what that means is, you know, just, again, the way the vanilla techs kind of stack up, you know, point for point, the, like, level 1 magic spells are really good. Rock throw is amazing. Things like that. You know, the level 2 magic's not so great. So it kind of favors certain team comps for, you know, their damage potential. You know, Ice Tackle, for example, is ridiculous. Phone finds a Berserker, throws that on his frog, so he's going to be critting for quite a lot of damage there. He's got the auto crits, he's got the shield, the the 50% damage from the Berserker. Pretty good. Anyway, so what the tech normalization does is it kind of brings these techs more in line with each other. You know, kind of brings the outliers in a little bit. So you may see, you know, some different strategies applied depending on how things roll. It's, you know, it's not going to be so immediately obvious like what the best teams are. Chrono gets through his Chrono trial. He did a lot more exploring, so he's kind of like behind the curve on actual progression, but he does have a big knowledge advantage. Phone, of course, is just farming the hell out of these speed tabs. Pseudo goes for the Sun Palace, finds Slash. Anyway, that week 6 is up right now. Nobody's even run it yet, so we don't know what to expect. You know, by all means, join up, learn the rando, have fun with it. You can be included in these videos. We will take anybody. No judgment. You know, we're all here to learn and have fun. So while we're doing all this, let me just point out Slash was one of those bosses that got normalized. You can see he's not being like a big threat here. He is doing a little bit of damage, but it's not like enough to force you to heal or really worry about dying. Especially this early in the game with the equipment we've got. One sec. Okay, we're back. Pseudo gets through Slash. Like I was saying, he's going to be one of those bosses that's a little bit harder. He gets a bent sword, so if we see the Tata house, we do have Denadoro access as well. I think it was at the Sunken Desert. Karnoth kind of going through the same motions Phone and Pseudo were going through, just a little bit delayed because he did explore that stuff. Phone coming up on the end of his Denadoro. He's been there a while, but he's coming out like 8 speed tabs richer. On Pseudo's screen, you can see we got the Ruminators. Pretty interesting enemies. You can let them kill each other and then finish the last one off. Of course, when they have no Ruminators to bite, they're going to start one-shotting your party, so you really want to kill that last one pretty quick. Another nice thing is, in this spot, they respawn infinitely. Why we care is we have vanilla charms enabled. So we can farm mega elixirs off them if we get charm. Phone got a rock here. I don't remember what color it was, but it didn't seem very notable. It's a gold rock with barrier. So not necessarily what you want to see. You know, it's pretty much on par with the 12 magic defense on the other rock. We haven't really looked at like our potential triple techs yet, just because we haven't had the party for them. So Pseudo runs off to future. We're gonna see what he does. He doesn't currently have his tracker enabled. He'll get it fixed like halfway through the run, so we'll kind of keep better tabs on what he's doing. Phone just has not found a key item yet. This will be his first. You can peek what this boss is and what you know what the key item is. So if you want to nope out of it, it's just something you don't want whatsoever. That's an option. You can just say no, I don't want this item, and they'll kick you back to the save point essentially. You can do the walk of shame back down if you want. So you know, if you've looked at it, you've probably guessed what boss this is going to be. This fight Pseudo's walking by has 5 of a single enemy, which is really good. So the Dino Blade Berserker auto crits are doing about 700, which at this point in the game is pretty good. I mean, for as fast as the animation is and as safe as, you know, your shield is, no complaints really. But yeah, back to week 6 settings. We see a Sunkeep 65 million here. We don't have a Luca or a Moonstone yet, but that's the turn in for that. You know, because we're doing all these modified, you know, tech balancings and whatnot, we've kind of leaned into it a little bit. For settings, we've got some static objectives. It's essentially a boss hunt. You know, we're looking for the bosses that receive the most significant buffs. Those are going to be our objectives for this week. So Flea, Slash, the Yakras, a couple of others that we feel just, you know, we're not threatening enough. We're going to see if they're threatening now. We got the free boss experience turned down a little bit, so just inherently bosses might be a little bit scarier because you'll be slightly lower level fighting them. And because like boss hunting is a little bit harder than going for specific objectives, we do start you out with flight. So you can really go crazy just looking for stuff. You know, between, you know, the single boss checks, the peeking and whatnot. You should be able to find a few of them pretty quick. And on top of it all, we've also kind of been waging war on missable items, like for example, Magus's Castle, Tyranno Lair, the desert. These are dungeons that normally if you clear them you can't go back in. We've let you go back into them. So to try out this update, we've got Chrono Sanity enabled as well. And we've kind of expanded the pool of, you know, what can be a key item there. So you can find them in those dungeons just because you can't miss them anymore. There's also a new room added to the Giant's Claw. It is in the vanilla data, you just couldn't access it, which is the trap room from Tyranno Lair. So there's 4 chests in Giant's Claw if you go left at a certain fork in the road. So we're gonna see how that feels. Phone headed to Reptite Lair. He's got, it looks like the bike key. So, you know, of the you know, people that have gone to the future, none of them have had the bike key yet. He's gonna have a little bit of a play he can make there. Going through there. Maybe he finds something at Factory or Protodome we like. It's hard to say. Pseudo has discovered the burrow. We'll see if there's a character there. And while we've got a moment, there is no character there. He's just going to get a free key item instead. It's a gate key, so he can go ahead and recruit Luca at the fair. He can get his end of time access as well, so possibly do the Specchio objective. Phone, meanwhile, finds Jets of Time. So if he finds the Blackbird, he can just go straight into the, the Epoch boss for that objective, plus flight. As I was saying, while we got a moment, what was I saying? Oh yeah. For those that don't know what Chrono Sanity is, it's a term carried over from Jets of Time. The sister randomizer, Pseudo's currently the developer on both of them. Good randomizer, kind of different vibes to this one. I'm sure if you're seeing this, you probably know what it's about. But essentially what it is key items in chests. So you have like a much expanded pool of loot. You can find, you could find a really crazy key item in your first chest if you wanted. If you get lucky, you could end up with, 3-4 key items in a single dungeon, just depending on how things roll. We haven't applied any weighting to it, which is, different from Jets of Time. You can do it as an option. We do have a setting for it, but I find the unweighted to be kind of interesting. It adds a little bit more of a chaotic element. Like you don't just find one key item in a place and know, okay, this place is done, I can leave. There's really no predicting. So Pseudo finds Tata's house. I believe he found a bent sword. So if he finds that Denadoro, he can see what that is. Sun Palace, Karnoth gets through it. Got his bent sword. So, Phone's got the knowledge of where Denadoro is, and I guess Pseudo does now too. But he doesn't have that sword yet. So we'll see if Pseudo finds the speed tabs as well. He may do a little bit of farming. And we see a safe helm at the shop here, which is huge. Especially, having a party with casters, Maro, Luca, Magus, their physical defense is just absolute butt cheeks. So, if you're going for the end game and you really don't have that much armor, you don't have like the shields, the consumables, that's a good option. Bosses that, open up with really heavy physical damage, Lavos spawn, hard Lavos at the Ocean Palace, things like that. They can very well kill a caster. So having like a shield up on turn 1 is really good. So, as we're gearing up and building our party, we can kind of start to think about like, do we go for a super boss to win the game instead of the regular path, Ocean Palace Lavos, if you can get a ruby knife and get past that sealed door, is an option. As of right now, just beating the hard Lavos shell will win the game. We're kind of debating whether that should be the case or not. It's kind of like an escape hatch for a seed that's gone on too long. But with a strong party, you can get through it in a couple of minutes. So it is a hard boss, but if you get lucky, it may not be so hard. And, status protection, shields, megas, things like that play into it. Karnoth finds Flea at Reptite Lair here. Phone did go through it already while I was yapping. So, Flea, basic overview, strong magic defense, below 50% HP, has a chance to counter with the stare. Again, just because it is kind of an earlier game boss, and in a randomizer setting, you have like some really good gear, good damage output, things like that. You can really just kind of clown on the boss a little bit. So Flea is another one of those that got some buffs with the normalization. The vanilla stats of a boss don't really account for like the level of gear that you can find randomly. For those coming from Jets of Time, they've kind of applied a similar thing already. Flea is a pretty threatening boss there. So Karnoth gets his jets. Pseudo's gonna make it to the top of this Denadoro here. Get his bike key. I believe he's recruited Luca. I think I saw that. So Specchio is an option. He may be looking for like level 18, 19 to really trivialize it. Oh, Phone got the Luca. Okay. He bought the gate key from the shop, I believe. So he kind of circumvented the need to do Sun Palace. He's on his Specchio now. Any key item you find is going to be a duplicate. It's going to be somewhere in the logic, and the shops are not in the logic, so you never need to buy them. But you know, if you want to spend 65,000 gold on a gamble that results in a key item that you were going to get anyway, you can do that. It could save you some time. It could be exactly what you're looking for. Like this, for example. Phone working on his second objective. Shouldn't have any trouble getting it. Okay. Specchio goes down. 2 objectives for Phone. So if he finds his commons, he can go ahead and do the Blackbird, get his flight. Pseudo, taking these fights here, he's definitely going to get some speed tab drops from these purple guys. Karnoth also seeing the megas at the Mystic Mountains here. Phone contemplating his party. It looks like he might have brought Luca in just to fight Specchio. Maybe didn't see anything really compelling on her. Phone headed for Protodome, so he can. He hasn't gone to the other path to future yet, so he doesn't know that he has future access already, but he's going to come at it from the back. If you go through this gate, the door will open automatically, so you can kind of backdoor Protodome sometimes. Whether that's through End of Time or a shuffled gate or whatever. Now we see Yakra's Fort. For those familiar, there is no Yakra's Fort in the game. What that is it's a peak for the third boss. And kind of the reason we have that here is because the way Ozzy's Fort works, I don't know if we've seen it in one of these races yet, but you'll fight 2 mini bosses from the pool of mini bosses, so like Gato, Crawley, Fleet Plus, Super Slash, Dalton, Atropos, and what those 2 bosses are, they're going to be the minions for the main boss. So you're either going to be fighting Yakra or Yakra 13. You can kind of plan your party around that. So we actually have a Fleet Plus here, which I think is vanilla. Yeah. So if we see a Super Slash here, it'll basically be Aussie Trio plus Yakra. Aussie Trio, of course, is just a boss you can find out in the world. Pretty threatening, pretty fun boss. So we've got kind of 2 Aussie trios per seed. One, just the normal one, and then one, this wacky Aussie Fort variant. Aussie Fort, very, very combat heavy dungeon. A lot of bosses and mini bosses to chew through, but not much else. It does take a little bit longer sometimes, but if you're really wanting like some gear, it does have 2 ultimate gear spots, being where like the Gloom Cape and the Doom Scythe and stuff are. We took a little bit of liberties putting the second one behind the trio boss. That's not normally where it's at. The other one's just in the secret room. Just to make it not like a loot box, you have to actually commit to it. And we also did put a key item here because it just felt weird having it not be a key item spot. So Pseudo definitely farming his speed tabs. Karnoth finds Dalton in the sewers. We don't know what's on the other side of sewers. There's going to be 2 additional checks. The vanilla Death Peak spot and the vanilla Keeper's Dome. Chronoth, I believe, is the first one to traverse the sewers. He finds Dalton, which is awesome. You love to see it. He counters with Iron Orb. He has really high evasion after a couple of turns, so dumping magic into him is generally a good idea. We do, of course, have Super Slash and Aussie Fort, so it's going to be a Yakra trio. Flea Plus and Super Slash have also received some buffs just because, like, the nature of them, outside of the trio fight, they are not threatening. You know, they're mini bosses, but they have low HP, they have low damage. So if you get them in a trio fight, it's not overly threatening. Like, they don't have the crazy counterattacks that the trio would normally have. So they did get a little bit of a beefing as well for the next week. Not this one. So Pseudo works on his Giga Gaia. Chronoth is going to see what's on the other side of these sewers now. Just looking at the levels, Phone is 23, Chronoth finds Vortex Point. So that's going to be a way to get to Medina. The location of the Vortex Point is randomized. The location of the actual cave is not, which, you know, can be a little bit interesting. We do see regular Yakra here, another boss that actually received some buffs next week. He's got like 25% less HP, but his attacks are going to be a lot stronger from here on. As you can probably see here, that wasn't a very threatening attack. It's going to be a little bit stronger. But again, this boss normalization is just a setting. It's off by default. So if you're a new player and you're not necessarily looking to be challenged by bosses, you can just leave it off. So Chronoth is going to head to Medina, maybe scope out the shops, pick up, you know, a speed tab, magic tab. We see Dalton Cave, so we know Dalton Plus is going to be the boss of Hecarim Cave, which can be a little bit scary. He doesn't have a lot of HP, but his counterattacks hit very hard. The reason for that is, in the vanilla game, he's kind of a weak boss. You know, you just lost Chrono, who you probably put all your tabs into the entire game. You know, you've got some characters that maybe you haven't invested in to get like techs online and stuff. And you can't like leave the Blackbird if you save on there, so, you know, just for the sake of preventing soft locks, obviously they made that dungeon very, very easy. So Dalton Plus is normally a level 37 enemy. The scaling is based on their stats relative to their level. So what we've done, we've made Dalton Plus level 20, which increases his stats pretty dramatically. So his counterattacks hurt, his regular attacks, you know, they can hurt too, but they're not like the big attraction to him. So just knowing all this, you know, some strategies to get through him. You know, physical attacks, he just counters with Iron Orb, which is manageable. If you have to do magic, maybe put up barriers first. Do like your hardest hitting magic and have like heals on standby to keep you topped off. He'll just kill you if you come at him with everything you got and just disregard, you know, what he's going to do back. So Phone gets through the wacky trio, as we just started calling it 2 seconds ago. You know, pretty fortunate rolls. Probably like one of the easiest combinations of bosses you could possibly find there. There's, you know, a lot of potential stinkers there. Phone finds a Masamune and a Prism Helm. So we can go through the Magic Cave and see what's at the Magus Castle spot. It could be a good play. But yeah, Aussie Trio, you know, you could find like Zeal plus Crawley plus Dalton, which can get real hairy. You know, getting your HP dropped to 1 and then immediately hit with something else will kill you. Stuff like Crawley plus Nizbel as well. Nizbel's got like an AoE attack. Crawley can set your HP to 1. Very threatening. So Karnoth finds Inhasa. Looks like he's going for the new fight. So he'll get a speed and a magic tab. 90 tech points. Pretty good. Phone's going to see what's at this Magus's castle. Pseudo, I assume, won his Denadoro fight. Switching the music over to Phone. What have we got here? We got Giant's Claw. So Pseudo picks up his Luca. Phone finds a Haste Helm. Because Giant's Claw and Tyranno Lair share a loot pool, that was actually considered like, you know, the good loot spot of Tyranno Lair, the very last chest. So, you know, if you don't find your way into Tyranno Lair, Giant's Claw is an excellent option. You know, you've got 3 power tabs, you've got the rock, you got the good loot right there. Rubbles for tech points. It's overall a very solid dungeon. For a long time, we had it set to where, you know, the tabs were in the loot pool, the rocks were in the loot pool, which, while that is interesting, it kind of takes away like the decision-making process around what dungeon you go to. So at least for these weekly seeds, I've kind of, you know, put that structure in place. So, you know, if you're building a certain thing, like, you know, say a spin strike, we just got the silver rock. Coming here, you know, looking for the rock, getting the power tabs, it's gonna be a big benefit to that strategy. And just for the simple fact that we want these weeklies to, you know, kind of be accessible. We want, you know, the times to, you know, stay below 2 hours if we can. A little bit of structure, not necessarily a bad thing. You know, if you want the full chaos, you're more than welcome to do so, of course. And we may do that in some of these other seeds coming up. Phone easily getting through the rubble. Pseudo has found his way to End of Time. He's going to fight Specchio. Specchio is a higher level than when Phone fought him, so it's going to be a little bit scarier. He upgrades every 10 levels, so if you're level 10, he'll be a Killwalla. Level 20, he turns into a Goblin. 30, I don't know, Omnicrone or something. 40 turns into the buff Masamune. So the trick with him is, you know, obviously get good magic. If you have like a Robo Tackle, Ice Tackle or something that buffs your magic, dual attacks don't miss, so you might as well do that, get the extra damage. If you can come in like level 18, 19, you know, 29, 39, that kind of thing, obviously, you know, in 9 levels, your party is significantly stronger, so Specchio is going to be a lot more doable than if you come in, say, like level 20. And the earlier you get him, of course, just the easier he is. So there's kind of a dynamic there. Phone peaks the Son of Suns, who's going to adjust his equipment a little bit. You want to prioritize like speed, magic defense, fire absorb, fire resist. If not that, shadow. Shadow is good. So probably gonna shuffle things around to where like he takes about the same amount of damage on each character. Just so he doesn't spend like most of his time fighting to keep one person alive, kind of thing. So Pseudo gets a blue rock. We haven't seen Robo yet, so we can't make use of that. It does have a shield though, which is nice. We've got 2 free shields on rocks so far. Picks up his speed tabs, picks up his magic tab. Phone begins his Son of Sun. So it's Son of Sun is very much vanilla in this randomizer. If you're coming from, say, Jets of Time, there's going to be some differences. Like he's got 2 more flame, or 1 more flame. Interestingly, his HP does scale with level, so if you find him at a lower level, it might take only, you know, 1, 2, maybe 3 hits to kill. Which is really good because, you know, if you're solo, you don't want to do 10 hits on this boss. It's impossible. Additionally, Black Hole being vanilla, it can roll like a higher chance of killing things depending on what your cost is. It can kill the flames, so it can take, you know, some RNG out of the equation. In different spots, you know, there's going to be different amounts of flames you can hit depending on where your character is. All this being said, you know, the boss hits incredibly hard, so, you know, all those barriers, all that magic defense stacking is really paying dividends here. Taking the Berserker off, obviously a good idea. We see a Doom Shiva Edge at the shop for Karnoth here. I believe that's Aristome, which is at the floating continent of Zeal, the Blackbird spot. So Pseudo might actually see this weapon as well. We haven't found Chrono yet, but if we do, you know, we may very well see a hard pivot to Chrono. Just looking at that weapon. So Phone has done enough damage to kill the Son of Sun. We do keep Sight Scope on, so if you're ever not sure how many hits you have to do, look at its HP. When it drops below 10,000, the fight ends. That's just how it's scripted. You know, there's a little bit of a misconception that it's scripted to die after 10 hits, but that's just because of the amount of HP the boss normally has. It's 100% going under 10,000. So in this randomizer, he'll have like anywhere from like 10.1k to a little bit over 12, so he may take, you know, anywhere from like 1 to 12 hits to kill. Depending on what level he is, we get a Yakra key for Phone here. Karnoth fighting Terra Mutant. I hate to repeat myself, but that's actually one of the bosses that ended up needing a buff, interestingly. In the base game, the Terra Mutant does not hit very hard. Unironically, like in Jets of Time, for example, his power level is, you know, I don't know if it's his magic stat or his attack stat or what, but it gets up from like 28 to like 200 something, and that's why he's such a threat in that randomizer. Our normalization doesn't quite go that hard. It does, I think, triple it. You know, the main thing with this boss is, you know, you have to kill it before it heals itself. You have to survive like the status ailments and stuff. So, you know, the damage is kind of a secondary factor, but it just didn't quite feel threatening enough as it was. So Karnoth gets through it, picks up a ruby knife, so he can actually do the Ocean Palace. We do have access to Zeal Palace somewhere. We've seen it. So even though, like, he could potentially get a second objective and, you know, find his commons, do Blackbird that way, Ocean Palace is still on the table. Additionally, we've seen some hints that maybe Hard Lavos might be viable this seed. Just finding like safe helms, all the status protect we've got, pretty good group healing, a good damage potential, especially if we find Chrono. So in Aristome, you don't have to go to the back to actually get the bike key item. You can just kill this boss and come loot the refrigerator, get the key item there. Additionally, if you have the seed, you can get a second key item from Doan. You just have to clear this area out first. So we're gonna see where this Lab 32 takes us. We know where it takes us, of course. It gets us a rock helm. We see Tubsters here. Probably not something you normally want to fight. So we just skipped them. Luca is just getting a full tech list, even though she's not in the party. She's getting a lot of those tech level items. So, you know, she's always in the back pocket. If we need her, she should have most of her techs online, even though she's not getting tech points. Additionally, you can visit Specchio on any character that can have magic unlocked to up their tech level, depending on what level Specchio is. I think at his highest form, he can bring him up to tech level 7, which is really good. So Pseudo finds Genodome. We unfortunately have not found Robo yet, so he's going to run back down. Or House Warp even, after he takes some notes. Carnoth recruits Luca here. So we've kind of all got our gate key. We've all got End of Time. You know, we've got four characters for each player, I believe. I don't think we've got any more than that yet. Phone's making his way through the sewers. I've already forgotten what was on the other side of this, but Pseudo is gonna head through his Magus's castle here. Well, the magic cave, I should say. So, following in Phone's path a little bit. We'll see if he goes for the Giant's Claw. Might as well, you're already here. He's thinking about it. He's going back. So I wonder where he's thinking of going. Carnoth showing off kind of a feature we've got where you can see unlearned techs. That includes dual and triple techs, which is really nice for planning your party in tech damage rando. You can kind of see like, these are going to be my good techs. These are the characters that I want to invest in. For whatever strategy may come. So it looks like Carnoth is biting the bullet, investing in Luca. May have seen something he wanted, whether it was like an Antipode 2 or something. So a strong possibility, that it was like Antipode 2 or 3, just looking at the very strong Ice 2s we've seen this seed. Phone gets his second gate key, regretting the purchase, I'm sure, at this point, but it got him a little bit of an early advantage, so he might be okay with that. So Pseudo has unlocked every single gate, it looks like. So really the world is his oyster at this point. We've seen no sign of like Blackbird flight access generally yet. Phone headed to Medina Village. He might be the last one to do so. So Pseudo, interesting thing here, if you kind of linger on the gate there, it'll spawn at power tab after a few seconds. Not a lot of people seem to know about that. Understandably, I mean, who does that? Pseudo hovering Yakris Fort. Carnoth going for his second objective now. So just looking at the fact that Specchio is on his level 20 form, I'd say Phone probably is comfortably ahead on levels. Understandable, he does, do a lot of fighting. He always goes for like any boss he can find as soon as he finds it. It hasn't cost him dearly yet. It usually seems to work out. So interestingly, Carnoth does have Team Dark Eternal going on right now. He may keep that. Maybe he just goes for Dark Eternal as a strategy. If we find the Black Rock, I don't think we've seen it yet. It could potentially be at the Black Omen. I'm not actually sure. We may have looked at all the other rocks already. We definitely found gold rock, white rock, blue rock. I want to say so. Yeah, we found everything but black, so it should be on the Black Omen. Carnoth may not know that, but he may not be going for that anyway. So Phone finds the Tata's house. He has not actually gotten the bent sword yet, so can't do anything with that. Everybody's kind of at the point where, you know, they're contemplating their next steps. We've kind of explored most of what's available to us, and now we've really got to find a path forward, because the you know, we're kind of in the mid game, transitioning into the late game, and you know, at this point we want to find a way to the end. We want to get our Lavos access. We want to get our, you know, our party online. You know, the free stuff factory is shut down. So Pseudo taking a bold play here, going for the Ocean Palace. He's going to fight a twin boss. He's going to fight a mini boss up here. Not strong enough for hard Lavos just yet, so he's just going to skip it. Going through the Ocean Palace will get you to, you know, wherever the last village is. So you can potentially, you know, find some checks there. You know, the Commons spot is shuffled in the entrances. The North Cape is also shuffled, so he could see some stuff that maybe the other players won't if he goes through with this. He reset. I don't know if he had some trouble there or what. Oh, maybe he forgot to equip his weapon. Additionally, at the last village, there's a shop. You can access the Black Omen if you get flight. And the only two ways to the last village in these settings are, you know, the Ocean Palace and that gate that's at the Mount Woe village. Which, you know, we do have access to if we can find Mount Woe. An interesting, you know, little quirk with that is if we go to the last village first, like Pseudo is doing, we can backdoor Mount Woe, which is an objective. So he can go through the Ocean Palace, go straight through the gate to Mount Woe, get his third objective. And he's going to come out the other side of that pretty strong, because that's 4 bosses right there. So we'll see what that does for him. The others are still kind of looking for something. Karnoth does have his ruby knife, so he has that possibility. Phone has not found the ruby knife yet, so he's got to find either the ruby knife or a different path forward. Karnoth and Phone do have the Jets of Time, so if they find the Blackbird, they can just skip straight to flying, which is going to open things right up for them. Phone clears out Kajar, gets his tabs and whatnot, his shops. Finds the Aristome, probably going to just go ahead and go for that, which I believe was the ruby knife. We also saw they had a Doom weapon for Chrono for sale. Karnoth, I don't... Does he have a Dreamstone? He does. So he could see a character here. So Pseudo picked up a really nice weapon here. Found a Star Scythe with 777s. So any physical damage he does will do 777, regardless of defenses, modifiers, anything. Which is really good for some situations. It's really good on Chrono, but it's not a Chrono weapon, so bad luck. So I haven't addressed it yet today, but those little flames there, essentially what those are, it's encounters in the vanilla game that were runnable but not skippable. We've just put those there as an optional way of triggering the encounters if you want to. Pseudo taking a deep breath before diving deeper. So we got a wonder effect on this Comet arrow, no, the Siren here with Magic +6. You'd love to see that. Wonder Shot is not the best effect, but it can be funny sometimes. And +6 magic on a weapon is always welcome, of course. So Pseudo descends into his elevator. You can get like a little bit of a preview of what you're going to be fighting here, just looking at, the random enemies on the way down. The mages, the scouters, the djinns, whatever you see in place of those enemies on the upper levels is going to be the same for the elevator. Usually probably a little bit less scary than the vanilla is. Not necessarily the case. Sometimes you get some real stinkers here. So Karnoth does find that Chrono. He may well go for that Doom weapon. He may shift his whole party around to abuse that. Understandably so. So a little divergence here. We're gonna see where this takes us. So what does Chrono even give us? We can race Johnny, which is not an objective today. I don't know if Karnoth even has the bike key. We can do the Chrono Lounge check. We can get these 10 mid-ethers. So he's not necessarily required for like logic, but you get some bonuses. And obviously he's a very fast character that has some good techs on him. Good potential weapons. So, there's always a strong use case for him. Pseudo done with his elevator. Thankfully, nothing overly threatening was found there. Good skip there. So we're an hour and 2 minutes in, and there's been absolutely no sign of flight access, which it's kind of a rarity so far in these weekly seeds. We've had a whole lot of seeds that just like didn't want to give it, or just wanted to give it to you. Karnoth did just see commons at the fair though, so it's kind of been right in front of us the whole time if we, bothered to go to 1000 AD. He's gonna loot this tutorial house really quick, and we'll see what he does from there. He can do the Blackbird if he wants. He may be holding out for the quicker Blackbird with the jets, if he can find the dock. Sorry. So twin boss in this randomizer can be 2 different bosses. Any single part boss I think is eligible. You do see a lot of golems for some reason. Pseudo's screen went black. What happened? He reset. Forgot some equipment, perhaps. So Karnoth, being the explorer he is, he found the quick Blackbird access and Mount Woe. So he's kind of found like logical bucket access by just walking down to the southern continent. I joked about there being a lot of golems, but we ended up with a golem and a golem boss, which may be one of the more favorable things you can find here. A phone resets out of Dalton Plus at the Ekron Cave. Maybe gonna retool his party a little bit. Looks like putting haste on Frog, putting Berserker on Frog. So he may just want to Frog crit Dalton to death. It's perfectly valid. Fast attacks, good damage, no elemental counters. Meanwhile, Pseudo, what's he doing? Just killing the golem boss. Doing kind of the standard, like lock him into level 1 elemental magic. Fire and water, especially very good. Then golem boss, just kind of eating incidental damage. Hopefully he can kill it before it runs away, so he doesn't lose out on the rewards. Phone just critting for 1000 damage every couple seconds on this hasted berserk auto crit frog. You love to see some silly strategies put in place. Golem looks to be going down pretty soon for Pseudo here. Now we gotta focus on the golem boss. Thankfully the burp doesn't actually hit very hard. That's another one of those things that is gonna get a buff with the normalization setting. Dalton goes down for phone, gets sucked into his portal, back to I guess back to 1000 AD, which he's already in, to destroy the Kingdom of Guardia. Spoilers. The most successful villain in the Chronoverse by a fairly wide margin, I would say. Like, he isn't even defeated by the end of the second game. He's just kind of a presence off screen. He may never be defeated. We may never know his ultimate fate. So, Karnoth saw his path to the end game. He's got Epoch Boss, he's got Mount Woe, he's got Bucket available to him, he's got Flight available to him. Noped out of it though. He looks like he's going to buy that Doom weapon for Chrono before he commits to anything. But in terms of no mode, he's got it. Pseudo is probably going to find it pretty soon here. If he backdoors Mount Woe, he's gonna be right there. He's gonna see where the Epoch is. He does not have the jets, but the commons for Blackbird access he will see. That'll put him at 4 objectives as well, should he choose to do it. Phone, he's got 2 objectives, but he doesn't have eyes on any other ones. It's kind of an oppressive set of objectives. Kind of hard to get logical access to them unless you just happen to walk into the flight. So of course, Ocean Palace has Hard Lavos, which does count as a victory. 0% chance that Pseudo has the power for it already, but it's a repeatable dungeon. You don't have to fight like the bosses a second time, but you do have to fight the elevator if you go in again, which is of course different from vanilla. Just because you have the ability to go back to 12,000 in this randomizer, there's really nothing stopping you from doing this again. So Pseudo's got his last village. We'll see what's here. Got a Keeper's Dome, which you don't really love to see. If you have a charge pendant, you can get your time machine, but it won't have wings. It can be good in some situations to get that. Gonna see what's at the news shop. A Giga Arm, but otherwise nothing notable. We don't even have Robo, so whatevs. Phone gets his Chrono. He sees kind of what's going on with him. Karnoth, I don't know why he walked back there. That was weird. What a weird thing to do. He's gonna fight his Epoch boss, get his 3rd objective, get Flight. It's Yakra 13. I feel like I've said this a lot, but another one of those bosses that did receive a buff with the normalization. He's going to have less HP, but he's going to go into phase 2 quicker. He's going to hit harder as well. He's going to have the same amount of HP in his phase 2. So if you could kill him before he does the needles before, it's going to be the same. But if you can't get past the needles quick enough, well, good luck. So Karnoth absolutely bought that Doom weapon. He put a Pacifist on his other 2 characters to force the Doom status. The Pacifist is a weapon we start with. It'll take any character that equips it out of combat, which, it counts for Doom. It counts for any mechanic that, works if a character is dead, like flee counters. They do get full experience as if they were outside the party. They do not get tech points, so it is kind of a gamble, even with the high damage the spin cut is doing. Notably, the spin cut only costs 8, so if he gets confused, he's going to be doing even more damage with this. Phone finds the commons. If he walks down just a little bit, he'll see he doesn't have to do the Blackbird, but he may just go for it. Pseudo finds the cathedral. I don't know if he's going to go all the way to the back of it for Ayla, but he might. Skips out on the bromide, interestingly. So I guess he was just coming in to get some loot. I don't know. He's not committing to it. Karnoth going for Mount Woe, so you'll see he has his go mode lit up. The reason that's lit up is because he's got his flight. He can go through the Black Omen if he wants. That is a path to the end game. Obviously a very long one. It's like a 20-minute dungeon. Not even accounting for like the bosses, of which there are quite a few. If you're coming from Jets of Time, there's one more boss than in Jets of Time. It's going to be the Mega Mutant spot at the beginning. So you fight like 1, 2, 3, 4 bosses before you even get to Zeal. And then Zeal is also a boss. That's 5. Man Machine is a boss for 6. And Zeal 2 for 7. So, if you want to go through a large dungeon with 7 bosses, 5 of them random, to get to Lavos, that is available to you, but I think it's a pretty safe bet that most of the time, just finding the bucket instead is probably faster. Anyway, we saw a Lavos shell. We can peek the bosses through that little vent there. I don't know if it's the Elder spawn or the regular spawn, but because we don't have Ayla, it doesn't ultimately matter. Pseudo is going to find his Chrono here. We'll see if he commits to the same kind of goofiness that Karnoth is doing. Phone has not picked up the Doom weapon yet, but just the fact that he's brought Chrono in suggests that he's contemplating it. He doesn't actually have a good weapon yet. He may have wanted flight to get it faster. So we see a Rust Tyranno, which has a lot of HP, but because his Chrono is just hitting that hard, he's not super worried about it. It's almost dead. Rust Tyranno is a very scary boss. If you've got like a low damage party, you've got no fire resistance, you hate to see it. It's very, very scary. Every time it does the fire breath, it speeds up a little bit. It heals itself a little bit with the the munch attack. And it makes the fire hit like twice as hard. So, it's definitely like a damage check kind of boss. So looking at it, Karnoth has about a level 36 party. Pseudo's got level 39. So at the top of Mount Woe, Karnoth is probably going to be about where Pseudo is right now. Of course, 2 objectives richer. Phone, I believe, was in his low 40s last I checked. So he may very well be ready to fight Lavos after this Blackbird. We'll just see, what his strategy is, whether he goes for the bucket or, the Omen or even potentially Ocean Palace. It's all kind of on the table here. Which route you go is not necessarily dictated by logic. Obviously, you need access to these things, but there's a lot of considerations like time to get there versus difficulty versus like say you need some levels. Like if you go through Black Omen, you probably want to go in there at like level 30, just so you're about a Lavos capable level by the time you get to the end. If you're going in at like level 45, it's kind of less appealing for that reason. You won't need all those levels probably to beat the game. Or if it's a seed like this where the objectives have kind of been hard to find, you may go for like a super boss, Dream Devourer, or Hard Lavos instead. We did see I think week 3, phone did a 1 hour, 17-minute or something Dream Devourer, which was crazy. I can't say that's been done before, but it has now. So phone getting some levels, getting some tech points, maybe going for his confuse off these turrets. He's got it. So he's got a very strong Chrono now. Pseudo, of course, has also jumped into the Blackbird. Karnoth, being the explorer that he is, figured out that you don't even need to do Blackbird this seed. You can just go south a little bit and get that boss. So he does have that going for him. He hasn't invested quite the amount of time that Phone or Pseudo have into getting to this dungeon, into getting this flight, this objective. So it's just a regular Lavos spawn. You kind of love to see it because mostly it opens with like a strong needle that will do like half your HP, but after that it's not really a big threat. So you can kind of just blitz it. It is a relatively low HP boss in the vanilla game, so it's usually something you can just zerg. And that's kind of, you know, like the big considerations with certain bosses in this randomizer. If you got like a general vibe for, you know, like the relative HP levels of a boss for, you know, the point in the game they're at, everything is entirely based on vanilla stats and levels. So, you know, if you know Dalton Plus and Northgate Magus have lower HP than kind of the bosses at that same point in the game, you can use that knowledge. If you know Yakra 13 has a lot of HP for where you find it, you can use that too. Lavos spawns, of course, don't have very high HP. They are dangerous, but so it's not like spot based like you would find in like the boss Rando and Jets of Time. It's entirely based on the boss's stats itself. So we're seeing like 5k arc impulses going out for Phone. You'd love to see it. I don't think this boss is going to live very long. We saw the first boss, the Lavos spawn, actually dropped a Dream Seeker. For those that don't know, the Dream Seeker is kind of let's say like a rainbow sword was capable of smoking crack. That's what would happen. It's higher base damage. It's got a 90% crit rate. We haven't seen what effect rolled on it, but in our settings, the 2 best weapons for each character do roll a bonus effect and stats. So you could see, you know, quad 9 crits. You could see Crisis, Doom. You could see Crisis MP, which is Crisis but with MP, of course. You could see the Wonder effect. You could see, you know, 4 times crit. You could see like 20 MP 4 times crit even. You could see things like a HP leech, MP leech. So Phone obviously gets through Yakra, no problem. Pseudo has not put Chrono in his party, so we are running different parties. Pseudo actually resets out of Lavos spawn here. So he's probably gonna rethink his party comp a little bit. Maybe he got a little bit too aggressive, I'm not sure. So 118.50, we'll see kind of what the time is when he gets back to the Lavos spawn, and we'll kind of calculate from there, you know, what the, you know, potential time could have been. Anyway, Phone gets his flight. He's level 46 with his party. He's got the Chrono, he's got the Dream Seeker. The Dream Seeker has speed plus 3 Crisis MP, so Chrono is just absolutely goated right now. I want to say his Confuse rolled 15 MP, so if he can land on a 9-digit, he can do some damage with that. I'm throwing Safe Helm on Marl, Haste Helm on Frog, Blackmail, Silver Rock. He's thinking. He's contemplating. Amulet on Marl. So if you see status effects start to come into play, you see tabs start to be invested. Pretty safe bet. They're locking in for their Lavos. He doesn't have the 4 objectives to do the bucket yet, so possibly looking into a different strategy, a different Lavos, Super Boss even. So we see Prism Helm on Chrono. Frog does not have status protection. Berserker, if he uses it, will give him Confuse protection. So it looks like we've got full Confuse protection on our party. Which Confuse is what Obstacle does on Lavos, so even hard Lavos, he does Confuse. So, we know we have the Ruby Knife, we know we can go through Ocean Palace. We're going to keep an eye out for that. Karnath, of course, looks like he's going for the bucket. If he's aggressive with it, he can get to Lavos significantly before anybody else and possibly win this. Karnath, he does play a little bit safer than maybe some of the others do. So he may be a little more conservative, going for some more levels, going for some gear. So Lavos spawn looks to have been maybe like a 3-minute setback for Pseudo here, roughly. So if he finishes within 3 minutes of somebody else, that could have been the difference maker right there. So it looks like Phone is in fact going for the Ocean Palace Lavos. He's level 46 right now, which is not a great level for it, but he does have a safe helm. Chrono and Frog do have pretty good base physical resistance. Hard Lavos is entirely a physical boss. It does a very large amount of physical damage. You love to see the Prism specs drop, by the way, from Crawley. So, safe helms, status protection, very high party healing, through mega elixirs, things of that nature. All very helpful. Kind of retooling his party again. He doesn't have the best armor I've ever seen, but he can maybe make it work. He does, of course, have to get through the twin boss first, so he may switch some gear around even after this. Double Prism specs, absolutely wonderful. We may see an X Strike or something, Arc Impulse, be very strong. We do want to keep an eye on his MP, just make sure he's getting the most out of his damage. So, Phone headed into, kind of his go mode. There's not necessarily a go mode dungeon most of the time. Usually just unlock Lavos, get the power to do them and do them. It's kind of a little more open-ended in that sense. Karnath getting through his Giga Mutant, so he'll have his bucket unlock. Very, very strong potential to finish the seed out here, depending on what his power level is looking like. So we'll keep an eye on him. Pseudo about to get his flight as well. He may, he could go for Mount Woe. He has easy access to it. He also has already cleared the Ocean Palace, so if he wanted to go in and do hard Lavos, he wouldn't have to fight, the bosses on the way down. So, we're kind of coming together at the end here. Just depending on, which way we go. So level 43 party for Karnath. With these casters, Lavos is actually kind of hard. Physical damage hurts a lot. He may have only switched to the caster party for that Giga Mutant, though. He might bring Chrono back in. which it looks like maybe that is what he's doing. I'm going back to solo strats even. I didn't see if he's unlocked Confuse yet. That would, contribute a lot to solo success. Very, very high damage potential with a Doom, high cost Confuse. So Pseudo's got his flight. Phone is making his way down this elevator. Shouldn't be very much trouble for him. He's got a Berserk Doom Chrono, doing some strong crits. Pseudo doing some more exploring. Maybe hasn't thought about doing woe. Maybe he's looking for like a different recruit. Switch up his party a little bit. Eyeing that Dream Seeker. Very, very possibly switching to Chrono. Looking at his techs. Very good spin cut confuse, of course. We do see the Aussie trio for Karnoth in the desert here. He doesn't have Robo, so he can't actually turn this in, but he may just be going for the levels anyway. Solo Chrono versus Aussie trio could be a little bit sketchy. They do hit very hard as far as bosses go, but they also, they don't have a lot of health, and when one dies, the fight is essentially over because they stop countering, which is kind of the big scary thing with them. Flea does a lot of damage on the counter, about looks like 4,600-ish damage for the Confuse there, which is awesome. Second one of those, Flea will probably die. He just has to survive this. 400 damage counter attack, 237 regular attack. Flea throws a Fire Kiss for 61 damage. Karnoth is bleeding out here. He's definitely going to want to throw an elixir or something. Looks like Pseudo is not feeling confident in his levels. Maybe he doesn't have Confuse online yet, so he's going to farm some of these blobs. This fight is a pretty good farm spot generally, just because there's 5 of a single enemy there, especially if it's a good enemy. Something to consider. Generally speaking, just because of the enemy shuffle, you don't necessarily know where your farm is going to be, but if you find like a kind of an end game enemy, the rewards are usually better. If you find like a spot with 4 enemies, 5 enemies, those are obviously a little bit better. Just killing more enemies at once is on average just better. So it looks like Karnoth is getting through this Aussie trio fight. I'm getting the full experience killing both Flea and Aussie, or Flea and Slash and Aussie. If one of them runs away, you do lose out a little bit. Boss experience rewards are normalized, so no matter what boss it is, you're going to get like the same amount of experience, more or less. It just depends like on the scaling level. We have it set to where you get about 4 or 5 levels if you're near the scaling. So Phone doing his prep for the twin fight. We see Dalton here, of course. Summons in the Golem and the Golem boss, which again is a pretty fortunate pairing. There are certainly some bosses that you really hate to see here, like if you have like Zeal and Nizbel at the same time. Well, she can drop your HP to 1 and Nizbel can shake the screen and kill you. So you really got to be careful sometimes. Not today, thankfully. This combination should not kill anybody. So Pseudo, he's done his prep. What's he doing now? Where's he going? I think I might know where he's going. So he's headed back to Ocean Palace, it looks like. He may be going for Hard Lavos as well. Neither one of these runners has found Mount Woe, even though it's very easy to find if you explore like Karnoth did. Karnoth taking a little bit of a pause here, maybe thinking about his next steps. So let's it looks like Phone and Pseudo ended up on the same party. Maybe similar strategies going to be employed. We'll see. I don't think either one of them is using the Doom weapon for Chrono. It looks like if you roll a 9, the Crisis MP weapon is doing comparable damage to what the Doom weapon was doing for Karnoth. So just the fact that Karnoth actually skipped the Blackbird boss may doom him in the end. Especially because he needs these levels. He doesn't have the Dream Seeker. Sometimes the Rando does that to you. Rando gonna Rando. Pseudo looks like he's still feeling a little bit shaky as far as his levels. Going for a little bit more experience. Meanwhile, Phone is firing up, getting ready for Hard Lavos. So we're kind of going back and forth on the rules for super bosses. I think we've kind of settled on a couple of requirements for them counting. They're not in place for this seed, but next week at least, we've set it to where the Hard Lavos shell actually is not a win. You have to beat the shell and then go through and beat forms 2 and 3. Additionally, like Dream Devourer, it's not like in the actual seeds logic or anything, but I've set it to where Dream Devourer boss counts as a win if you've got the bucket unlocked. Just because you could potentially like cheese it, just ignore logic entirely, just get a bunch of power and go for Dream Devourer, which is kind of not in the spirit of the randomizer. So if you have a good party, Dream Devourer can be killed faster than Lavos. So having them unlock at the same time, I think is fair. So we'll see how that is going forward. Anyway, Phone is starting up his Hard Lavos. He's gonna try to set up like some healing, some shields. You'll see why in a second. Boss does a lot of damage. He's got shields on his Marl. He's got good armor, and he still almost died here. Without the shield, Marl would surely be dead right now. He's only got 2 megas as well, so he's gonna really need to be conservative. And be really careful with his healing. Maybe throw out some shields, some haste. So immediately slapping the boss for like 5,900 damage. You love to see it. Hard Lavos has 30,000 HP, 16 speed, very, very high damage output. Thankfully, script-wise, very simple. Does Destruction Rain, does Confuse, does Needle, Repeat. Phone ultimately did not put any Confuse protection on his Frog. He may just be rolling with that. We'll see. If he can just like get Chrono to hit really hard, that's all we can really ask for here. He's certainly got the damage to get through it. You just gotta survive long enough to do it. If he starts running out of like megas and stuff, he might be in trouble, but otherwise, he's got 1 mega, he's got like 2 or 3 elixirs. He's really got to do the damage quickly before the boss kills him. So the needle spin on Chrono did like 623. Again, like an unshielded caster would just die outright there. Which is a big part of what makes the boss hard. You've really got to have like the defenses, the speed, the armor to not get just oppressed. And he immediately does Destruction Rain here, so very scary. But doing 5,000 damage a turn, he can get through this boss pretty quick. 7,000 damage Ice Sword 2 is crazy. Frog throws the Mega out before he gets confused, so Phone kind of leaning into having kind of the turn economy here to be a little bit more aggressive. taking advantage of Destruction Rains, taking Confuse off Frog. Another 7,000 damage, I sort 2, and Hard Lavos goes down. Made it look like easy Lavos. I assure you it is not. He just had like the perfect party for it. So we're gonna scope out like what Pseudo's doing here. He may well be starting his Hard Lavos as well. We'll see if maybe he has a different approach. Karnoth gets through his Aussie fort. He did the entire thing while we were watching phone, as is tradition. So he's probably ready for Lavos at this point, I would guess. He's level 48. I think he's got this. So I think the main thing that really stole the victory from Karnoth was just not getting the levels quickly enough. He did do that exploring. He did find logical access to the bucket. I'm sure he's got a solid strategy for it as well, but he just was not quite ready when he needed to be. Phone and Pseudo kind of seized an opportunity to, kind of break through the logic and just do Ocean Palace, which was available to Karnoth, but he may not have felt comfortable doing it. It's understandable. It can be a pretty disgusting boss sometimes. Just a little too late action. Call me. But anything could happen. Maybe next week, things are completely inversed. Any one of these runners, they could win any one of these races. They've certainly had their share of wins in the past. Phone kind of on a hot streak, but nothing lasts forever. Especially in kind of these weird settings we're doing next week. Karnoth does do a lot of Chrono Sanity, so he may kind of have the edge there. And there's going to be like a lot more unpredictability in terms of the objectives, just because we don't know where the bosses are going to be for those. So, a little exploration, a little bit of divergence may pay some dividends for sure. Karnoth doing a little bit more farming. I don't know if he needs to do this necessarily, but like I said, he does play a little bit safer. Most of Phone and Pseudo's faster finishes have just been down to being more confident, going for Lavos a little bit earlier than maybe you would think you could, and just having the power to blast through it. Speaking of, it looks like we've got a Berserk Chrono, so Pseudo might have the full Confuse protection with that. He's probably just going to lean into like auto attacks on Chrono to kind of chip the boss down. He actually does not have the Confuse protection on Frog. I don't remember where we got all of our protection from. Maybe just a dungeon he didn't do, maybe like Ozzy's Fort or something. Might have had a Prism Helm, I don't remember. But yeah, he's just leaning into the Berserk. Berserk, of course, grants shield, grants plus 50% damage, grants Confuse immunity. I'm gonna throw a haste, so he's really gonna be slapping this boss. Berserk also works really well with Crisis MP, just for the simple fact that you don't consume MP for any reason. So he's stuck on that 7 MP there, which is more than enough to do some damage here. Our next Lavos attack is going to be the Confuse, so Pseudo does have some time to heal up before the needles come out. Meanwhile, he's going to dump 4,000 or 6,000 damage into the boss between turns. So, just got there a little bit after Phone, but in terms of like time to kill the boss, he's probably, doing comparable. Different strategy, but kind of similar, like damage potential. Hasted auto attacks, they do less damage per turn than a 5,000 confuse, but doing 2,200 damage in like 1 second is really good. You love to see that. So I think unless he just runs out of MP or something, he's probably safe here. He's probably gonna claim his victory pretty soon. Karnoth, meanwhile, going for conventional Lavos. Once we're down to one racer, I'm just gonna turn the audio over, I assume, to Karnoth and kind of let him talk his way through the seed. I'll kind of take a back seat. We'll kind of see where his head's at. He's always talking with his chat, which is why we never put the audio on him until the end. So I don't know what he's going to be talking about here, but it may not even be related to the seed necessarily. He is going for the solo Chrono Doom strats, which we love to see. All the respect in the world for the hubris, the sheer confidence to even do such a thing. It does, of course, synergize really well with Doom weapons. So it's just a cool way to end a run. Let's be real here. He's number one in our hearts for doing it. Meanwhile, Pseudo finishes at 141.25. He's going to be our second winner. So, factoring in like the 3 minutes that he lost on Blackbird there, he would have been within a few minutes of phone.
All right. You told him that? Nice. Shadowsire went from lurking to our Google Translate.
So I'm going to let him do his thing. I might come in at the end. Of course, going to plug ctrando.com. Learn the randomizer. Play with us. We'll help you. We will teach you. We'd love to feature you in these runs for sure.
All right.
There's a lot of cool stuff we're doing. Check out our other videos. I've got a playlist. CT Rando Dalton Imperial, whatever you want to call it.
Google Translate.
Gonna do seeds every week.
From another language to English. You get the gist of it. So yeah, grammar might be a little weird. English as a second language, but you get the gist, and that's what we're looking for. But looking at this, it feels like you've been through a lot. But I've been through a lot, sure, but there's no reason not to be optimistic, right? Life can try to put you down, but who's to say that you got to stay down? You don't have to be in that pit of despair. I think it's just Spanish through Google Translate is horrible. Yeah. It is. But yeah, the grammar stuff is the biggest qualm with the translation and context, right? So context and grammar. We're gonna go for this strat. Okay. Right arm's going to do the heal, and then we'll. Oh no, we got it in time. Okay, we'll use an elixir. After obstacle. Chrono is definitely one of the easiest ones to solo with. Yeah, we'll use an elixir because we're down so much. Very right words, and I try to follow them despite the fact now I'm straight down. Oh man. Well, if you're here, hopefully I give you positive vibes. That's what I'm all about. So you stay strong. Keep your head up. You got this. Humans have a great tolerance for adaptability, but I believe in you. No worries. I'll get the left bit down. I'll play this a little safe. Spin cut left bit, confuse core and everything. So for sure. That's killing the middle bit is kind of, I don't want to lose too much MP because, you know, resources. I mean, I have a lot of mid ethers, but I don't want to like burn through my elixirs. You know, middle guy core is going to be the. I don't foresee anything like double slap could be a problem if I'm not fast enough. Oh, no. Too dangerous to not damage the middle guy. But we might be in a good cycle. You're very convenient in a chat print doing well. I really appreciate it. I've always been sent from the stream several times because of the. Man, you've been born on Earth. You belong wherever you want to belong on Earth. Yep. Heck, even if you know people start populating Mars, you're still human. So you're always welcome here. Feel free to stay as long as you like. And I'm glad Shadow Sire is translating for me. So elixir time. Elixir, one confuse. I'm gonna play it safe. I could do one confuse and then a spin cut, but I'm gonna play it safe because I don't want him to cycle through his things. He'll restore defense in just a second. Oh, I did get 3 confuses out before he did. Full ether. Confuse. we do have a lot. We have plenty of resources. All right, there you go. Already subscribed and will sometimes come to it. Perfect. That makes me happy. That's what I like to hear. You enjoy. Welcome. And appreciate your subscription. Well, all right. We did okay, sub 2 hours, but we went through Chrono solo. All right, that was
So absolutely stylish finish for Chrono out there. 150.38. His time was wrong.
That just like went in there.
I think he might have started his time at the start button instead of the wait button. So anyway, ctrando.com, seed of the week number 5. Number 6 is up right now. Give it a look. It's a fun randomizer, fun settings. We change them every single week. You know, we'd love to have you. Love to teach you.
I had fun with this one, and I don't care that if I come in last or anything.